Gopichanna Pallava Kevarare Yasharananda Bhajajanaranda Yasharananda Bhajajanaranda Yamuna Thira Vanachare Yamuna Thira Vanachare Dayara Madhava Kundaviyare Nale Kṛṣṇa 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 Le Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Pavapara Jaya Pavapara Jaya Pavapara Shila Pavapara Nityaṁ Haribo Haribo Nityaṁ Haribo Āgāra Pimanandi Kanta Srimad Bhagavatam ki Srila Prabhupada ki Samavita Bhaktivinoda ki Gaura Premanandi Om Gyantimandasya Gyananjala Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manupistam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakaram Nadati Svabarantikam Namam Vishnupada Kashabasa Uttali Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Govani Pachayine Nivishesha Shunyavadi Pasatari Satarine Vanchakapa Tuvasha Kripa Sinuvevacha Paditanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Kṛṣṇa 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So to begin with, I want to express my gratitude for being once again in Mayapur after 3 years of pandemic. As we say, absence makes the heart grow fonder. So I definitely can experience that it's just very, very nice to be here again. So thank you for coming for the morning's Bhagavatam class, and I would like to first of all ask you all for your blessings, that I can say something that makes sense and maybe even is of some little inspiration and also for my own purification. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Canto 2, Chapter 4, verse number 2. Ātma-jāyā-sutāgāra. Ātma-jāyā-sutāgāra. paśu-draviṇa-bandhuṣu. paśu-draviṇa-bandhuṣu. rājye cāvikale nityam. rājye cāvikale nityam. virūḍhāṁ mamatāṁ jahau. virūḍhāṁ mamatāṁ jahau. ātma-jāyā-sutāgāra. paśu-draviṇa-bandhuṣu. rājye cāvikale nityam. virūḍhāṁ mamatāṁ jahau. Somebody chant. Ladies. Atma, body. Jaya, wife. Suta, son. Āgāra, palace. Paśu, horses and elephants. Draviṇa, treasury house. Bandhuṣu, unto friends and relatives. Rājye, in the kingdom. Ca, also. Avikale, without being disturbed. Nityam, constant. Virūḍhāṁ, deep-rooted. Mamatāṁ, affinity. Jahau, gave up. Translation by Srila Purport. Mahārāja Parīkṣit, as a result of his wholehearted attraction for Lord Kṛṣṇa, was able to give up all deep-rooted affection for his personal body, his wife, his children, his palace, his animals like horses and elephants, his treasury house, his friends and relatives, and his undisputed kingdom. Purport. To become liberated means to become free from dehātma-buddhi, the illusory attachment for personal bodily coverings and everything connected with the body, namely wife, children, and all other entanglements. One selects a wife for bodily comforts, and the result is children. For wife and children, one requires a dwelling place, and as such, A residential house is also necessary. Animals like horses, elephants, cows, and dogs are also household animals, and as a householder has to keep them as household paraphernalia. In modern civilization, the horses and elephants have been replaced by cars and conveyances with considerable horsepower. Purport, juggling with the words. To maintain all the household affairs, one has to increase the bank balance and be careful about the treasury house. And in order to display the opulence of material assets, one has to keep good relations with friends and relatives, as well as become very careful about maintaining the status quo. This is called material civilization of material attachment. Devotion for Lord Kṛṣṇa means negation of all material attachments, as detailed above. By the grace of Lord Kṛṣṇa, Mahārāja Parīkṣit was awarded all material amenities and an undisputed kingdom in which to enjoy the undisturbed position of king. But by the grace of the Lord, he was able to give up all connections with material attachments. That is the position of a pure devotee. Mahārāja Parīkṣit, due to his natural affection for Lord Kṛṣṇa, as a devotee of the Lord, was also executing his royal duties on behalf of the Lord. And as a responsible king of the world, he was always careful to see that the influence of Kali would not enter his kingdom. A devotee of the Lord never thinks of his household paraphernalia as his own, but surrenders everything for the service of the Lord. Thereby, living entities under a devotee's care get the opportunity for God realization by the management of a devotee-master. Attachment for household paraphernalia and for Lord Kṛṣṇa go poorly together. One attachment is the path of darkness, and the other attachment is the path of light. Where there is light, there is no darkness, and where there is darkness, there is no light. But an expert devotee can turn everything to the path of light by an attitude of service to the Lord. And the best example here is the Pandavas. Mahārāja Yudhishthira and householders like him can turn everything to light by dovetailing so-called material assets in the service of the Lord. But one who is not trained or is unable to turn everything to the service of the Lord, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe, must give up all material connections before he can be fit to hear and chant the glories of the Lord. Or in other words, one who has seriously heard Srimad Bhagavatam for even one day, like Mahārāja Parīkṣit, from a fit personality like Sukadeva Goswami, may be able to lose all affinity for material things. There is no utility simply in imitating Mahārāja Parīkṣit and hearing Bhagavatam from professional men, even for 700 years. To take Srimad Bhagavatam as a means of maintaining family expenditure is the greatest type of nam aparad offense at the feet of the Lord. Sarva Shuddha Kriya Samyam Api Pamada. So, there's quite a few points there. Yes, we are starting a new chapter, which is entitled The Process of Creation. But we can actually say these first verses, they still somewhat refer to the previous 3 chapters, because again, the whole topic is one more time taken up, the importance of hearing and chanting, and the result of that, namely detachment, renunciation. So, and Prabhupada elaborates, on different challenges there in household life, the practical application. So we can say, true detachment and renunciation comes through wholeheartedly being attracted by Krishna. That's what the verse says, right? As a result of his wholehearted attraction for Krishna. Not so easy to get there. Wholehearted attraction to Krishna. So it basically makes this point once again, that actually it is a matter of developing a higher taste. In order to give the attraction to the lower tastes, we have to get the higher taste. Only then we can give up the lower taste. And for most of us, this is a gradual process. Yes, let's be clear on this. That we cannot artificially jump, imitate. No, it is a gradual journey. And I mean, when reading the first section of the purport, it may almost sound a little discouraging of getting married, isn't it? Prabhupada elaborates quite in detail there, all the cumbersome, things we get entangled, yes, body, wife, children, and all other entanglements. So one selects a wife. So then one needs a house, a dwelling place. Then comes the animals. And then, of course, also the bank balance. And so very easily we may come to this conclusion, oh, let's skip that one. Just sounds like too much trouble, right? But it's not that easy, no. I mean, Krishna has given us this perfect system of the ashrams, and especially as long as we don't have that natural, spontaneous attraction to Shravanam Kirtanam, we do need this help of the supporting system of the ashrams. And interestingly, on my humble preaching efforts, I come across this quite a lot, that people think, let's skip the Grihastha ashram, just sounds like too much maya and entanglement and so on. But let us be clear that actually to get married or not to get married is not a question, especially for men, it is not a question of whether we can remain celibate or not. But there are more subtle aspects to it. And there is one purport in the 5th canto in connection with Mahārāja Parīkṣit and his wife Bahismati, where it is said, where Prabhupada says in the purport, that actually only Brahmanically inclined men and sannyasis, they don't need that inspiration and encouragement from a wife. So this is quite an interesting point, which we often tend to overlook, that there is this subtlety there, that this feminine energy is empowering and inspiring to most men. So most men need that source of feminine energy in their life to be dutiful, empowered, and responsible. So this feminine energy, if we women use it properly, it can really bring the very best out of a man, materially and spiritually. Yes. And of course, if we women don't use that feminine energy in an empowering way, a woman has the power to ruin a man's life too. Yes, this Shakti is very powerful. So yes, and what sometimes happens if a man is not properly situated, he needs that feminine energy, but he doesn't have it in a bona fide way in his life as having a wife, then he tends to steal a few drops of that feminine energy by giving attention to ladies, preaching to them, caring for them, reaching out to them. And so, but that is stealing. Yes, it's stealing. So, yeah, it's quite a complex topic, this whole topic of entering the grihastha ashram, you know. And I mean, here Prabhupada also mentioned this part where he says, yes, where he says very strongly, attachment for household paraphernalia and for Lord Kṛṣṇa go poorly together. You know, ooh, when we hear this, yeah, it may easily lead to this wrong conclusion that better to skip it. And then one attachment is the path of darkness and the other attachment is the path of light. Where there is light, there is no darkness. And where there is darkness, there is no light. So when we preach like this, sometimes people respond, oh, you're polarizing, you know. Oh, so absolute, only light or dark. But no, actually, who is polarizing? It's Kṛṣṇa. He is the one who is polarizing, not the preacher who repeats it, you know, so let's be clear on that too. And I mean, reading that, of course, I remembered the sutra of our Back to Godhead magazine, you know, which is actually a verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita in Madhya Lila. So there it is said, where is it? Godhead is light, nescience is darkness. Where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. You know, yes, where there is Godhead, there is no nescience. So, and that also connects with 269 in Bhagavad Gita. You know, what is day to the common person is night for the introspective sage. So yes, you know, that the consciousness, the reality of a materialist, of a spiritualist, they are as different as day is from night. And the whole process of Krishna consciousness is meant to transform that. I mean, previous chapter was called, you know, what was it? The transformation of the heart or something? Change of heart, yes, change of heart. So that's exactly what the whole process of devotional service is meant to bring about. You know, that our taste, likes, dislikes, everything is transformed from the day of the materialist to the day of the spiritualist. And that takes quite some internal work. It takes a whole paradigm shift, actually. You know, so, but yeah, that's what we should be aiming for. And Prabhupada also makes this point that a devotee has to be expert, you know, and trained. So, I mean, in regards to grihastha life, Prabhupada gives this nice analogy of having a thorn in our foot. So this is quite a painful situation, right? Having a thorn in the foot, oh, every step, pain, misery. So, but one can take exactly such a thorn, a second one, and pull out that thorn which we have in the foot. But we have to be expert. If we are not expert, we end up with 2 thorns in our foot. And I guess this is what's happening very often in regards to grihastha ashram. So the thorn in the foot is this man-woman attraction. You know, we also have this famous verse, but since I don't have it much in my head, I have to read it to you from my little verse book here. Where is it? Here. The attraction between male and female is the basic principle of material existence. On the basis of this misconception, which ties together the hearts of the male and female, one becomes attracted to his body, home, property, children, relatives, and wealth. In this way, one increases life's illusions and thinks in terms of I and mine. Very famous verse. So, the thorn in the foot is this man-woman attraction, actually. You know? But then, the second thorn is the grihastha ashram. And with that thorn, we can pull out that first thorn of man-woman attraction. But one has to be expert, and one has to be trained. That's what Prabhupada says here in the Purport. Where was it? Anyway, you remember. He mentioned an expert devotee, and then he says, but if we are not trained, you know, then the problem starts. So, and this is really one of my concerns, really, that, yeah, we like to learn the philosophy, we quote it, we repeat it, but we are not there yet in practically living it. Yes, we are not there yet. And it's not surprising, ISKCON is a young movement. It all takes time. And training and education is the key. You know, it's not enough just to do Bhakti Shastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, and that's the step number one. But then comes step number two. How do we live it? Yes, and we are not there yet. Because this materialistic mindset and propaganda is so strong, so deep-rooted, you know, to actually transform this and have a change of heart. Not so easy, not so easy. And especially in regards to family life. Yeah, I really feel we are pretty far away from having family life as an ashram. Because again, many devotees enter family life without any training, without any education, nothing, you know. And we think, yeah, we know, but what we know, what we have experienced is mundane family life, you know. But family life as an ashram is something completely different. And, well, it means ashram is a place for self-realization. So it means Bhagavatam, holy name, have to be the center. And one's whole life has to be molded around that Bhagavatam and holy name are the center. And again, not so easy, you know. I mean, here in Mayapur, it is quite natural, you know, to come to the morning program. And yes, you want to be there for Mangaladi and you know. But yeah, once you leave the holy dham, it becomes so much more difficult, right? And especially in regards to Mangalati, there is quotes, you know. We know Prabhupada was heavily stressing the importance of Mangalati. But let's be honest, in the Western world, you know, which grihastha has a Mangalati at home? I mean, on my travels, I often stay with grihasthas. I see how they live. Very rare, you know. Most householders may live too far away from the temple to go to Mangalati in the temple, but they don't have a Mangalati in their home. Sometimes people at 7, they sing all the prayers, you know, well, 7 o'clock, not so Mangal anymore, you know. Mangalati, Mangal is auspicious. Not later than 5, I'd say. Then it's Mangal, you know, but 7 o'clock, not so Mangal. Of course, it's better than nothing, you know. But I was just thinking to myself, isn't it interesting to see how the pilgrims, they are so keen to be at Mangalati, right? Yes. I mean, if we would subtract the pilgrims, we may be surprised how poor the attendance is at Mangalati, you know. But they are so keen. It's almost, they still have that culture in the blood, you know, that Mangalati, we have to be there. Of course, we can say they're only doing it one day when they visit Mayapur. But anyway, that attraction is there, you know, yes. And I have also experienced this in my preaching and traveling in Bangladesh. People are Mangalati addicted in Bangladesh. They cannot imagine their life starting without Mangalati, yes. I've many times been, you know, overnight in householders' homes, and we had some big panda program going till midnight or 1 o'clock, and I'm coming home thinking, oh, hopefully there's no Mangalati. But sure enough, some granny who was not on the panda program, she blows the conch boo through the whole house, sings the prayers. Mangalati is a must, you know, yes. That's the mood, you know. And also, because I'm quite involved there in student preaching in Bangladesh. So once the students came to me and said, oh, Mahāraji, can you advise us? It's so difficult for us to chant our rounds and study and read Prabhupada's books, you know. And then I was making this mistake, which I immediately bitterly regretted. I was saying, well, you know, in the Western world, the students probably wouldn't have a Mangalati. And their eyes were almost popping out of their heads, you know. They were shocked. What is she suggesting? No Mangalati? And I immediately realized, and I said, but here in this part of the world, you know how important Mangalati is. So I went back to, yeah, so that's the mood, you know. And yeah, in Bangladesh I started realizing why Prabhupada emphasizes Mangalati so much. Because if Mangalati is there, everything else falls into its place. You know, we get up early, we have to take rest early, otherwise there will not be Mangalati. We can't eat a whole big plate of prasadam at 10 o'clock, otherwise there will be no Mangalati. So it all falls back in its place if we just add this little detail of Mangalati. Yeah, it's very powerful. And Prabhupada did make some statement. I hope this will not be too discouraging for anybody who doesn't get up early. This was in a room conversation in 1973, in Indore, by the way. Prabhupada was saying, so the other devotees, and Prabhupada is laughing, they cannot come at 5 o'clock. That is the test. Yes, one who cannot rise early in the morning, he is not spiritually serious. Wow. That is the test. Brahma Muhurta, this hour, 1 hour before sunrise, it is very auspicious moment, you know. So it's such a little detail that makes an important aspect there, whether our family life is an ashram or not, you know. Yes, because that's basically the difference between temple life for brahmacharis, brahmacharinis in the Western world. You know, temple life is so organized that Bhagavatam, holy name, japa time is put in the center. And that same thing one has to do in household life also. Yes. And that means one has to show where our priorities are, right? Whether we rather stay up late and play around on internet and have a big pizza there at 9 o'clock, or whether we say, no, my japa time is so important to me, I like to take rest at 7:30, 8 o'clock. So I'm fresh, I'm not going to fall asleep in the Bhagavatam class. And yeah, and I can be fresh and rested for the whole day and get so many things done. And Bhagavatam, holy name, is early in the morning there, you know. Yeah, so it's not so easy to really transform one's family life into an ashram. And even our high divorce rate, let's be honest, it also is an indication that our family life is not an ashram. Otherwise there wouldn't be a high divorce rate. And also, Prabhupada makes this comment here. One selects a wife for bodily comforts, and the result is children. So already that entering the grihastha life by selecting a wife for bodily comfort, this is already not how we enter the grihastha ashram, you know? Yes, this is the mundane approach, how we enter. But ashram, there's so many other considerations, devotional considerations for compatibility. It's a whole big thing. But again, let's be honest, many, if not most, of our devotees enter married life more according to these criteria, you know, bodily comfort, physical attraction is the main and foremost one, and then comes economic considerations or something, especially also here in India, economic considerations are up on the top of the list there, you know, but all the other levels of compatibility we don't even look at. So it actually all starts with entering, how we enter. Very different to mundane family life or grihastha ashram, you know. So we have quite a bit of learning to do there to really get there, and I dare say it will take several generations, you know, to actually get there. And also in regards to family life as an ashram, we have this nice verse, 7th canto, 14th chapter, verse 4. A grihastha must associate again and again with saintly persons, and with great respect he must hear the nectar of the activities of the Supreme Lord and his incarnations, as these activities are described in Srimad Bhagavatam and other Puranas. Thus, one should gradually become detached from affection for his wife and children, exactly like a man awakening from a dream. So very nicely describing once again this importance of hearing. And by the way, you know, when we read, we become detached from affection for wife and children, it does not mean that we become neglectful and cold and not caring. No, it does not mean that. There's also so much misunderstanding over these topics, you know. No, it simply means we continue caring with affection, with care, but we are detached. We don't want to enjoy within this relationship. That's the detachment, that we don't desire to enjoy in this relationship. But we continue doing our duties with care and attention and affection and, you know. Because sometimes ladies get a little threatened when they hear this, oh, you know, if my husband hears too much from the sadhus, then he may not like me anymore and he doesn't care in an affectionate way anymore. No, no problem, we don't have to worry about that. So he simply will do his duties with care and attention, but without wanting to enjoy. And last but not least, let us also remember that after the grihastha ashram is another ashram, the vanaprastha ashram, the topic we were discussing this week in the seminar. And yeah, I mean, I can observe for many devotees, this is such a threatening topic. People are almost afraid to come and hear about the vanaprastha ashram. But hey, here we read it in the Shastra, you know, that we should get there, that we become detached from our body and comfort and. So we read it all, and yes, we are nodding the head, yes, yes, we want this. But then, to practically apply it, how do I prepare myself for this Vanaprastha ashram? Oh no, sorry, that's not for me, I'm afraid, God, what is that, Yeah, it is showing that we're not quite there yet. And I guess, I dare say, the fact that this Vanaprastha ashram is practically not even established properly in ISKCON, it is connected, according to my humble realization, with the fact that family life is not an ashram. And if our family life is not an ashram, we will not receive the necessary purification and spiritual maturity to actually naturally move on to the next ashram. We start all over again with the grandchildren, and then the grandkids become the purpose of life, Yes. So it is connected, that our family life is not an ashram, which gives family life a bad reputation. That's why people think, oh, these householders, they're in Maya, let's just see, can't make advancement. No, the Grihastha ashram is perfect, it's great, but we have to make it into an ashram. That's the problem. Most of our previous acharyas, they were Grihasthas, but their family life was an ashram. It started with Mangalati, for sure, And Bhagavatam, holy name, were the center. And so many other duties and aspects are there which we don't have the time to discuss now. But just by the way, this is the book I'm working now on, Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. So that's why when I saw the verse, I thought, thank you, Krishna, for giving me this verse, so I can share a few little things. Yeah, so it's a whole journey, and to skip household life is not the solution for most of the devotees. Very few men are so Brahminically inclined that they don't need that feminine energy to be inspired and empowered. Most men do. And I guess this is also one reason why so many sannyasis in our movement could not maintain their ashram, because of that subtle consideration which we didn't know and maybe still don't deeply understand. They were not Brahminically enough not to need that feminine energy to be empowered and motivated and inspired. And it's perfectly Krishna's arrangement, so that not only we women need to be protected by a man, but most men also need that feminine energy in their life to be empowered and inspired. So it perfectly fits, yes. Okay, so since this is a pretty practical topic, I will leave some time for some questions. Sadhana Mataji. Okay. Thank you for making that announcement. If anybody wants to have a look on the way out, I can be there. Yes, so what questions do we have?
Thank you, Mataji, for presenting very nicely. I had a question. You wonderfully presented this topic of feminine energy. So my question was, can't this feminine energy be derived from our contemporary mate, who is a very good friend and very caring, and he gives emotional care also?
No, not really. I mean, our brahmachari friend, most likely he doesn't have that feminine energy, No, it doesn't work like that. And theoretically, this can also happen, that then this relationship amongst two brahmacharis or similar thing amongst two ladies, you know, that emotional care they actually should be getting from a husband, then they're getting that from each other. It can become a little unhealthy, you know, this emotional dependence. And you don't have that purifying journey that actually leads to detachment. That's the whole thing, you know, because two brahmacharis or two ladies, they don't have these duties towards each other, right? Yes, yes. So that there is not that journey of purification there. And you may lie on your deathbed and you remember your favorite brahmachari who was caring so nicely for you, you know. So we don't want to have that, you know. Yeah, well, I'm sorry to disappoint anybody here, but yeah, you can't, you know, take some shortcuts. Okay, what else? So many questions from the brahmachari side. All right, we'll go over there. Well, I'm grateful that you all came.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for your wonderful presenting the entire topic. So continue to the previous question. It's like, of course, it will not be supplied by the brahmachari, the co-brahmachari. But what about the divinity feature of the feminine nature, like Srimati Radharani, or the other personalities of divine nature? Will they?
What's the question?
So,
whether we can get the spiritual energy, the feminine energy for them.
The mercy and the mercy component, the protection component from the divinity, the female counterpart of the divine nature.
Well, we can say, you know, that's why Prabhupada says only very Brahminically inclined men and sannyasis, you know, they may be able to do that. But again, it's dangerous because again, it can become some weird thing there, you know, that you imagine all kinds of things with Radharani there or something. Not sure, you know. Yes. Yeah, well, looks like you're trying really hard to find some detours there, some way of bypassing. But yeah, yeah. What else? Something from the ladies' side, yes.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for such a nice class. Earlier in the purport, it was talking about how there's the path of light, the path of darkness.
Yes.
Materialism and
Yes.
devotees. And, but then also, then we were talking about the grihastha ashram. Sometimes we enter into that ashram and we're thinking like the physical attraction or economic or whatever it is. But my question is that necessary? Because I've also heard, talking about the divorce rates, that sometimes for example, if a devotee is not so surrendered, then you have to dovetail your interests. So if the attraction is there, then you have to use that and give it to Krishna. So if you're not full surrender, is it necessary to find that physical attraction or the stability of economic? Or?
Definitely, the physical attraction is part of the whole thing. By the way, one of these books there is all about that topic. Yes. Yeah, no, physical attraction is part of it. You know, it's not a brother-sister relationship, but it's not the only and foremost one. Yes, but it has to be there. And material, you know, financial compatibility also has to all be looked at, but it's not the only aspect.
So how do you draw the line?
Well, I mean, this is a whole seminar.
Okay.
Which we will have, by the way, in 1 week. On Monday, we start with the whole man-woman energies. There, I'm talking about this principle of how women are the power of inspiration. Prabhupada says it in the purports, So that's next week's seminar, and after that comes the Grihastha, and the first 2 sessions are all about the entering, Yes. So it's a whole thing. It's a whole big topic, which I'm afraid we don't have time now.
Thank you.
Yes, Puru.
Mataji, thank you for the class. One thought came that aren't we using this excuse that we require feminine energy just to do sense gratification?
It can be, we can misuse any good thing, It can be, but if we mold our family life into an ashram, then the purification will take place,
So even if we use that feminine energy, but if we are following this thing, the purification will happen. Is that what you're saying, Mataji?
If we mold our family life into an ashram, yes, definitely. Because let's be honest and realistic and clear here, that our motive to enter married life is not all, oh yes, I want to achieve pure bhakti or something. No, for the men, it's usually because they struggle to control their senses. Let's be realistic, Otherwise, why would they bother, As a rule, that's the reason. So, and also for ladies, being attracted to the other gender, of course it's all there, and it's a deep need actually for, it starts already at young age. Oh my God, 5, 6, 7 years of age. The girls are asking, where do I find my husband? I can remember from my own childhood, I wasn't even at school yet. And I asked my mother, how do you find a husband? Yes. And she said, well, you'd somehow meet him somewhere, and I wasn't satisfied with this. And I asked her, is there a market somewhere? I thought the husbands are all sitting there in line and you just go and you look for one and you pick one. Creative imagination there of a young girl. So, but this topic starts already at young age. It's built into the female nature just so she gets the protection she's meant to get. Yes. So, but we need help in finding the right spouse. That's the essence of this book there. We should have somebody who helps us, who pre-selects a little bit, who knows us well, who knows where we are at. And then, there's a whole process there. And we have to make the decision, ultimately, So it's a whole thing. We really need some help with this. I'm convinced that our high divorce rate is connected to that we don't understand that this is the duty of the parents, the mentors, the senior devotees, to help devotees find a compatible partner. It's one of the main aspects of devotee care, according to my understanding. On my travels, I see it all the time in every community. It doesn't matter where you go in the world. There's so many ladies who would like to get married and they just don't know how to go about it and nobody helps them. And the same for the man too. Or the man starts some 5th bachelor ashram, Yes, and nobody helps them and says, hey, come on, you should actually situate yourself properly in one of the ashrams, Yes, yes, Mahārāja.
Thank you, Mataji. Your point is well made about our very high divorce rate in our community, and it's a cause of great concern because how are we going to proceed? So, do you think this is one of the reasons so many young men and women are very reluctant to enter Grihastha ashram, seeing our high divorce rate?
Can also be. I mean, that's basically what I was saying, you know, because if family life is not an ashram, then it gives the whole grihastha ashram a bad reputation. Then people think, oh no, better not, look at them, how they're struggling, and, you know. But yes, also one other topic is that, you know, any problem in family life can be solved if we are just willing to accept guidance from a mentor, from a counselor.
Haribo.
Yes, and I do want to read you one of my favorite quotes, which I actually wanted to mention, but I ran out of time a little bit. Listen to this. This is Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur saying in the book Amritavani. He says, "One who gives personal instruction to each and everyone does more for others than the platform speakers do. Generally, whatever platform speakers say cannot solve the problem of everyone in the audience, nor can it always benefit every individual. A person's defects are better rectified in a private tutorial class or private coaching than in hearing lectures in a school or college. Therefore, those who instruct particular persons separately can award them something more permanent." So in regards to hearing Krishna Katha, yes, we don't want to minimize that, you know, hearing, but we can just be trapped in our false ego patterns of behaviors and never get out of them. So we need this one-to-one, because the defects are better rectified like that, and especially in married life. If we just understand the importance of having a mentor, any marriage problem can be overcome. Yes. If both are willing to work on themselves rather than blaming the partner. Yes, yes. Whole big other topic, you know, yes. So this mentorship is such an important thing, you know, yes. And interestingly, all our Shastra comes about through this one-on-one, right? Yes. Parīkṣit Maharaj inquiring, you know, Sukadeva Goswami answering, Arjuna inquiring, Krishna answering. You know, it's all the one-to-one. Yes. That's how our whole Shastras comes about, you know. So yeah, also on our level, we have to imbibe this and include this in our life. Okay, time is up. Thank you so much for your kind attendance. So if anybody wants to check out the books, I can be there and answer more questions. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada.